All right. Well, welcome back to Builders, Makers, Doers. I'm Andy Bassett. He's Elliot Bassett. Today, we're here with Mike Michalowicz, who is a thought leader for entrepreneurs. He's an author. He's a speaker. He's a little bit of everything. But I think it's going to be really interesting to hear his perspective on what he's talking to and about to entrepreneurs on a regular basis.
Let's build off that. All right, Mike, welcome to Builders, Makers, Doers. This is going to be fun.
Thank you, Elliot. Andy, it's good to see you both.
Thanks for taking the time. I know you're flying out here in a little bit, so we appreciate squeezing some time in. And I think this is going to be awesome for everybody listening because what you're doing every day is helping entrepreneurs at various different stages in their business and challenges they might be facing. So before we dive into some of the questions we have for you, give everybody a little bit of background on who you are, what you do, and then we'll jump in.
Sure. I'm Mike. I'm an author, but also an entrepreneur. I've been one my entire life. And I'm on a mission I call it to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. What it is this struggle that I've lived with and so many do, that the reality is not what we ever intended. And that gap between the reality and our intentions, which is, we're working our butts off. We don't have money we're making that we thought we would. And so many other struggles. Our team isn't stepping up. All that represents entrepreneurial poverty. And I'm on a mission to fix that through the books I write and through the work I do.
Yeah. And if anybody hasn't, I would encourage you to go to Mike's website, which we'll link up and everything, because he's got some fantastic content on there. But I want to dive right in then, Mike, because one of the things that I've pulled out of your content that I think is great is how you look at, the traditional equation in any business, right? Is revenue minus expenses equals profit.
Right.
And, or more revenue solves all problems. We've all heard that over time. Yeah. And I think you have a very, a tweak on that equation that I think is very beneficial for everybody to hear. So walk us through how you look at revenue, expenses, and profit and how, especially folks in the trades should be looking at it in their business.
Yeah, totally. So, I ran I did some research. I was gonna say I ran a study, but it was really some research and identified that 83% of small businesses in the trades, but this is in any industry, 83% of small businesses are surviving check by check. Well, I've had the opportunity to speak with countless businesses. And of the folks I talked to, I said, was your intention to live check by check? They said, no, I got into business for financial freedom, man. That's the number one reason I got into business, and to have impact and to have personal freedom. But I wanted to make money like I couldn't elsewhere. And yet almost no one does it. Like 17% of the population ever makes more than they could have working a regular job. So I'm like, what's wrong? Are we all crazy? Are we all idiots? Like, can we not figure it out? That can't be the case because so many entrepreneurs go into business because they have drive, commitment. They have to have the intelligence to do the work they're doing and to manage it and oversee it. So I'm like, what's missing? And one day I was looking at the formula you just referred to, our revenue or sales minus the expenses we incur results in profit. And I'm looking at it like, oh my God, the formula is wrong. Now, to give context, it makes logical sense. Like Spock gets it. If you have sales that come in, you take the expenses you incur, and what's left over is profit. It makes logical sense, but it doesn't make behavioral sense, like the makeup of humanity. It is human nature. When something comes last, that is insignificant. Like you would never say, I love my family so much, I always put them last. Like it'd be absurd. Or my health matters, I'm going to make that the last thing I ever do. Of course not. You say it's the first thing I'll do. My family comes first. It's human nature. What comes first gets done. What comes last gets delayed and into perpetuity. And that's why there's 350 million small businesses globally now, small businesses. We're talking hundreds of millions of companies are not making any money. And they're putting it last. They say, well, it didn't happen this year. Maybe next year. Maybe I can refinance the house one more time or borrow from Peter to pay Paul. So what I did is I flipped the formula. I said sales minus profit equals expenses. Now, this logically is actually identical. It's called a variable swap. The math works identically, but the behavioral shift is what's the big deal. Every time you sales in your organization, you take a predetermined percentage as profit. It's the pay yourself first principle, but it's applied to your business now. And when that profit comes out, you've assured the profitability. And what happens magically is you see, okay, if I want to have a 10% or 20% profit, now here's what I truly have left to operate my business. And you have to find ways to work within that. If you can't, that means you don't have right margins, you're not pricing properly, there's inefficiencies, maybe you're running excessive costs, but we got to fix those things.
Wow, that is it is, because you talk about just the psychology of thinking through that way. So I'm curious, when you have those conversations with, the most of the entrepreneurs out there that, like you said, are not, showing that profit and are going kind of the month to month, how do you see that shift with them then when you start to get them thinking that way? Is there kind of a light bulb, or is it an evolution you see when you start having these conversations with folks?
Well, it depends on their circumstances that they have coming into it.
Sure.
Some come in and their hands being forced. They don't want to do it. They don't believe it'll work. They just believe that the grind is the way. And those folks come into it because an external party, maybe another business partner or a spouse or someone's like, we got to fix this. I can't live this way anymore. And they're the most resistant. And it triggers a confirmation bias. Whatever you believe to be true, you will find a way to make it true. So we look for information that supports that. So those folks, it's a real struggle. There's other people who are so desperate, it hasn't worked for so long, that they kind of throw their hands up. And the problem with those situations, if you throw your hands up, you don't execute on the system. You start it, but you're just moving from fire to fire. And that's a very difficult situation. So you need someone to support you through that. But the majority of people who are successful come into it because they see that this works in their personal life. They see that this has been taught since biblical times. Like, this is like nothing new. The pay yourself first principle, tithing, it's in all biblical or religious literature. The Quran talks about allocating money to intended purposes. So that's what we're doing here in our business. And those folks who come in with that mindset, oh, if it can work personally, it can work here, it's still going to be painful. Because some of the realizations are, oh my gosh, I am running way too fat. I have maybe too much staff or too much expenses. But in more common scenarios, oh my gosh, I haven't been pricing right. Or, oh, I've been playing the cash flow game. I feel great when someone gives me a retainer deposit. I'm living large, but 2 days later, the money's gone. And they realize that this system starts managing cash flow. I'm very proud to report that we're now approaching 1.2 million businesses that have deployed it globally. And one story I'd like to share, because it gets people excited, is the Savannah Bananas use the system. I just got a message from Jesse Cole. He's the founder of Savannah Bananas with his wife. Season 1, they set up with Profit First. I went down there, my wife and I went down there to meet with them, and they learned the system and deployed it properly. Because and the reason I want to share that story is they just received, I think, a 700 million or 800 million, nearly $1 billion valuation of their company. They have no interest in selling. And they're growing faster than any other brand in the sports arena, perhaps in history. Explosive, massive growth. They're selling out stadiums. Jesse sent me a message from Clemson, 102,000 people. Who gets 102,000 people to a baseball game? No one, not even the World Series gets that. But they get that per game.
It's crazy.
And it's crazy. And the reason I share a story is people say, well, if I take profit, I can't grow. And that's the biggest line of BS people buy into. When you take profit, it forces you to look at what's truly available to operate your business. And now you got to be innovative. How do you redefine the industry? What are you willing to do that no one else can do? And you find ways to be better than the competition. And that's where the explosive growth is.
Yeah, that's quite fascinating. The Savannah Bananas, by the way, incredible success story. Like you said, they are coming to Memorial Stadium in Nebraska here. I think it's in June, I believe. But yeah,
amazing.
Sold out 92,000 or whatever.
Like in a day.
Yeah. Yeah. So wild success. But yeah, I mean, I know Elliot's got a question, but I just think it's interesting that I don't know why it is that for whatever reason, profit's like not something you're supposed to talk about as a business owner or leader. You've got a team and you're scared to talk about it with your the employees of the company or whatever. And I don't know why we see that though with a lot of business owners that are just like, they feel bad to talk about being profitable. It's like, well, if you're not profitable, you don't get to create the lives and the results for many, many people that you have the ability to do as an entrepreneur or business owner. And it's fascinating to me that there's that feeling, and I don't know where it comes from or why that is.
I think some movies influence it. I grew up I'm probably older than you fellas. So I grew up and I watched was it Wall Street? Where it was Greed is Good.
Yeah.
And then there's the Boiler Room and all these different shows. And they show the super rich, and then the other minions are just kind of pushed aside. They're C-level characters. You don't hear from them. And so there's this aspirational component from, I think, movies and stuff to be the rich guy. And then you look at like Fast Company and all these different business magazines. I love them, but it's always like the person who crushed it. And one of the common themes is, well, they set a clear vision for their company. So you guys are getting a feel for me. I'm a contrarian. I think if you start a business, you deserve extreme wealth for taking that risk. So I'm not denying that, but we have to include the team. So I used to believe we have to set a corporate vision, because all these magazines, everything I read says set a corporate vision. So I'm like, okay, how come most businesses fail that sort of set corporate visions? We do hear about the big successes. Apple does it, so clearly it works. You don't hear about the 1,000 plums, these companies that you never heard of that didn't make it. So like, let's look at them, and they all set corporate visions. So I said, oh, well, I ran a test in our own company, and I'm also an investor in small businesses, so we have quite a few we do this with. And what we do is set a collective vision. So understand this: a corporate vision is, here's what I want. I want my business that's now doing 2 million to achieve 10 million next year, and we're going to race to get there, and that's going to be huge. Well, the team, to rally my team around that's my ego that wants that. But my team, and I'll talk about my actual team. One person is 7 years cancer-free, and she is targeting 8 years. Another person wanted to move to Europe, and she just pulled it off. Another person's learning to play guitar. What we do is every quarter we sit down and say, what's your personal vision? Mm-hmm. So we then set a collective vision. So our company's mission is, yes, I have my ego and I want to achieve $10 million. But in the process, we're going to lock arms, and we're going to get someone to Europe. We're going to get someone cancer-free for 8 years. We're going to get someone playing guitar. And listen, I can't grant someone's wishes, and disease, I can't control it, but I can keep it top of mind. I can realize that their job is in alignment to achieve that vision. Their job is not to support my goal of 10 million. Their job is to, one other person wanted to be home, very flexible and works because their parents were really elderly, and be with them when they pass, and she was there. So I understand the vision of my collective team. That is what many corporations don't do. And I'm on a little bit of a side tangent here, but I think we hear in the news and in the literature we read stuff that's been around forever, and we don't consider what's the actual outcome. Here's the golden rule. If you have a desire and you can't achieve the outcome, or the outcome is not consistent with that desire, there's something in the middle, usually the method in the middle, that's not working. So if you want to have profit and you're not having profit, there's something wrong with the method or the way you're approaching it. Maybe you don't understand the method. Conversely, if you want a business that's growing fast track, but your team's disengaged, and you want this team that's really hyper and excited about what you're looking to do, and it's not happening, it's the method in the middle. So we always have to evaluate that middle. I think insanity is defined, by some famous person as repeating something that ain't working and hoping that's going to work. You got to change the method.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. We operate with a similar mentality internally, and what we've always talked about is we want to know everybody's personal vision. We want to understand it so that we can help them achieve that personal vision.
Yeah.
But then our business valuation, or vision, what we can see as business owners needs to be big enough to encompass all of those visions underneath. Because if it's not, then, and sometimes this can happen where somebody might outgrow the company, outgrow their role. They want to go on to a new challenge, and that's totally fine. But we've been a part of helping them build the skill, build the knowledge, the whatever they need to take that next step towards their personal vision. But ideally, we're creating, by growing and by doing all the things that we need to do, we're creating a vision for the company that encompasses everybody's personal vision, allows them to achieve their personal goals. And
100%.
I think you're spot on with that. Like, this is going to sound crass, but like, most people don't come to work every day because they want to go, like you said, hit 10 million in revenue. That's not how their brain thinks about it, right? They might get behind the what we do here every day. We help business owners, or we're helping people do XYZ, but they want to go and achieve something in their personal life, and the job is a means to doing that, and could be a very meaningful way to do it. But anyways, I totally agree with that. I think it's something that is missed in businesses from a business owner's lens, and can be a little tweak that can honestly mean a ton with growth, profitability, et cetera.
Well, and none of that matters, by the way, if you're not running a profitable business, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
true.
It's got to be a healthy business. And so it's interesting that our team is excited about our profitability. We also do a share with the team, but admittedly, when I do distributions, I don't get calls from my team saying, "Thank you so much. This has been amazing." It really is to satisfy my own sense of integrity. I just define that to be integral. A portion, shareholders in our corporation, 80% goes to shareholders. Now I'm the only shareholder in the business. And the team knows that, but the shareholder or the business owner took the risk of getting it started, but we do share it out. But I also know none of my team is motivated by money. They're motivated by what money can do for them, which some is flexibility. Some's, spend more time with family. Others is learning guitar. I got to know what the manifestation is of that money, because then the money becomes far more meaningful in their job.
Yeah. Dive into that piece a little bit, because I think this is a spot where business owners really can get hung up, because, say you have that model, and you can go into how you guys do it or how you coach folks to do it. But, we do a profit sharing model where 20% of the profit goes to our team at the end of the year in a distribution, or however often you do it. But I think some business owners get scared of doing that, because now, if I say we made $1 million, the team knows 800,000 that's going to me, and they're only getting 200,000, and they're just going to be like, geez, Mike's making so much money. And
right.
So we'll walk through the psychology of that, because I think that certainly it is a risk if you don't do it right correctly.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it is. Now, we've been doing it for 12 years or something. We do it quarterly. I believe every business should do quarterly profit distributions. That's in alignment with public companies, by the way. If you own public shares and they do distributions, you're going to get it quarterly. So we run in these 90-day heats. What's so interesting is, I would say, the vast majority of my employees, perhaps every single one. Now, a very small business, collectively, there's probably 17, 18 folks, and myself too. So it's a very small company. And we'll ask people like, oh, what was the numbers last quarter? Like, what was our profit? These are spreadsheets they have readily available. We display them, we review, we call it Monday metrics. So this morning we went over our numbers. Everyone sees where we're trending. Almost no one knows. And at first I was like almost a little offended. Like, you don't know how healthy our company is? Again, that's not their core mission. Here's the power of open books, is they have a surety that we're navigating our circumstances fiscally with fiscal responsibility. And we went through a really dark period at one point financially, some unexpected challenges, and we had to lay a couple people off. And everyone knew exactly what's going on. And they also knew that we were able to land the plane from seeing those numbers. So that's maybe our circumstances. Surely people can figure it out. So here's a technique we do. We explain that this is a profit share for someone who took the risk of starting a business. It's a major gamble. I think 75% of businesses fail after a 5-year period, never able to employ someone. And the people who survive, they're the unlucky ones. The next 25% of businesses that are sustaining, most of them are not making profit. So taking the risk of starting a business is a massive one. So we tell people we have an incubator program. I personally invest in businesses. So if you aspire to be the owner of a business and take this risk, you can be financially rewarded accordingly. We'll help you start a business. Now, I invested in a CNC, a small manufacturing shop. They were doing CNC equipment and so forth. And one guy's like, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to start my own business. I want to make that kind of money. We said, we have the path for you. Do a 5-year apprenticeship. We're going to train you in everything. You're going to get behind the scenes access to the owner and learn about the business. And we're going to give you seed money. Wasn't much, but to start your business. Plus, we'll start referring opportunities your way, stuff that we couldn't take anyway, in exchange for 10 or 20% of the business. It became like this franchise model. So now we're starting, this was the first deployment of it. And the guy did pursue it, and we did start his business. And now we're looking to do more of those. So when someone says, I want that money, I deserve it, I agree. I say, you absolutely deserve it. You should start a business too. And that's not right for everybody, but for the right person it is. And most people realize, oh, maybe that's not for me. I want a secure job where I'm getting predictable pay. Well, you can see from our profitability, we're one of the few companies that can afford that. We're not refinancing homes to cover payroll. It's going to be available for you.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Well, in that example, some people, again, might look at that as, well, I created a path to lose one of my best employees, or whatnot.
Yeah.
My argument to that is saying, well, number one, that's a pretty cool outcome for that employee, for that team member, that you were able to create something that they dreamed about. And number two, you also were able to plan for it over the course of 4 or 5 years, where instead of planning for it on the side and just walking in one day and saying, all right, I'm going to go start my business. Thanks. And now you're left.
Which is what happens. They hide it. They're afraid. Conflict comes out. I'm like, no, now you get a piece of the action.
Yeah.
We have at my own company, 1, 2, 3, 4 people I can think of off the top of my head that own their own businesses on the side. And it's because we've encouraged them and they've learned from us, and they're side hustles. And in this case, I can't think of anyone that's going to go full time with it. Actually, one's shutting down. The other one just says, I'm going to keep this as a side hustle just because it gives me almost like a hobby type of joy.
Yeah.
But they are so grateful that a company existed that supported them in seeing their dream through to fulfill that dream.
I think that's awesome.
So I know we probably got 5 minutes left or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you have, like, is there specific to the trades? I know you just shared the story you shared, but through your journey, do you have, like, is there one particular success story that maybe just sticks out in this conversation that would relate and resonate to, a smaller business trades type of company?
Yeah, I'm thinking of it was an HVAC guy. I can't think of his name at the moment, but so an HVAC company in the Northeast. So I'm in New Jersey, this area, and what they did, I remember I was at a conference speaking to all these tradespeople, and I talk about Profit First, and I see him in the back, and he's just scrolling notes real quick, and he's on his phone, but he keeps on looking up and stuff like this. I'm like, oh, he's not drifting out. He's doing something, like taking action. So at the end, I approached him. I'm like, hey, how'd you like the bank? He's like, dude, we already set up the accounts for Profit First. So he starts doing it. Well, I stayed in touch with him a couple times here and there. And I'm going to paraphrase. So basically he said, once we started taking our Profit First, we realized we didn't have enough money to run these ads that we were running, like Facebook and all these different ads trying to get business. So he said we had to figure out a different way to market, which is the right thing to do. When the business says there's not enough money to do something, I have a saying, Profit First doesn't fix your business. It shows what needs to be fixed. You've been overspending on your marketing. So what they started doing, they called it the red carpet, and they would literally start carrying a red carpet around with them. And when they arrived at a customer's house, they would say, they would put the carpet from the entranceway into the house. They would ask for permission to enter. They would then put their booties on in there. They would treat the house better than the owner. That was the goal. They said, if the garbage cans are empty when you're pulling in, walk down the street and pull the garbage cans up for them. Don't even say anything, just do it for them. If they have a dog in the house, arrive with a dog treat with the permission of the owner. These guys got such a reputation, the word of mouth exploded over them. And they reduced their marketing budget extraordinarily because they were able to do it without social media. And they were very, very profitable. He went on to sell his company. Actually, the name just came to me. But it's probably better I don't share the name. But they were very successful. And I think that's the message I want to share with Profit First is by taking Profit First, people think you have to live this deprived lifestyle of business. No, it forces you back to thinking innovatively. Money dumbs me down. And most people I see when they get more money, they get dumbed down because there's a quick dollar solution that everyone else is doing too. And I'll throw it on social media. That's what I'll do. I'll get shinier new trucks. That's what I'll do. I'll get uniforms for the team. But when you don't have the money to do these things, you have to think outside the box. And when you do different than the industry, you redefine the industry. It's exactly, we talked about the Savannah Bananas. That's exactly what they did in baseball. Yep. That opportunity exists in the trades. And I'll share one last thing. I heard an interview of this guy, Robert Stevens. He founded Geek Squad. Now, my very first business, I was in computer systems, and I had tons of local competitors. And one day, this company, Geek Squad, comes in and kicks my butt to Sunday. Not because they were better, not because they had more skills. They just dressed like geeks, and people went crazy over it. Robert Stevens said something fascinating, the founder. He said, the more ordinary the business, the more extraordinary the opportunity to stand out. And, talk about an ordinary business, it's the trades. If you're willing to do something different, you can redefine the industry and be the next Geek Squad in your space.
Wow. I think that's
fantastic.
That's a fantastic takeaway. That's a nugget right there
nugget.
Yeah, I think a lot can use because you're right. I mean, people, HVAC, you pick at trades, people don't look at it. It is ordinary. It's not, something crazy or sexy or whatever, but like it creates an opportunity to set yourself apart that is undeniable. And that story you just shared is amazing. Like simple little stuff. That's not hard things to do. They're not.
Don't cost anything.
People don't think about it, but I love
They're
it.
not hard to do except for the block in our head. Our mind is so interesting. People want to be noticed without being noticeable. That's the weird thing about humanity. If we do something different, we're so afraid of the judgment. Now, the reality is when you do something different, like no one notices, like no one cares, no one notices, but we feel that they will. So if you're willing to do the courageous, different thing, and you don't have to be like a, Bozo the Clown type thing, just do something that, be the first HVAC guy. So everyone shows up in suits. It's different enough. It shocks the mind.
Yeah.
Do something no one else is willing to do, and you'll get rewarded accordingly.
I love it. Well, I know we're,
it's been great. Yeah. We know you got a flight to catch. So
off to Indianapolis.
All right. Well, that was great. Like I said, there's definitely some great takeaways there. I think it's a mindset shift that a lot of people need to understand, need to follow you, need to check out the content and really think about, because, the few examples you shared, there's no reason anybody listening to this can't, have the same results.
Yeah.
I agree.
Absolutely. We appreciate the time, Mike. This has been great.
Andy, Elliot, thank you both. I appreciate you guys.
Safe travels, Mike. Thanks.
Thank you.